Unit 25, Part B, Activity 2A. Listen to a radio program called Teens Talk. What topic is Professor Bopar talking about today?
Good evening. This is Linda, your Teens Talk radio host. Unlike our normal weekly show, today we won't be starting with an interview or discussion, but with a talk by Professor Bopar on one of the most important social issues. Professor Bopar will be talking about the impact of alcohol on teenagers. So, welcome, Professor Bopar, and thank you for being here with us today. Our listeners and I are very interested in hearing your research and thoughts on this topic.
Thank you for having me on the Teens Talk show, Linda. As with any other social issues, we must pay attention to the growing impact of alcohol on our teenagers. People who are underage mustn't drink alcohol because it could cause them many issues. Alcohol, without a doubt, causes many health risks. Teenagers are still in the stage of growing physically and mentally, and alcohol can interfere with that. It affects the health of the inner organs such as the liver, the heart, and the digestive system. They might experience confusion or unconsciousness. It can have short-term and long-term side effects on their health. In addition to that, our research shows that teenagers who have consumed alcohol tend to have lower concentration. For instance, some of them are not able to concentrate on their studies or other activities. They lose focus and do not want to communicate with their teachers, peers, or even family. Very often, we find that they consume so much alcohol that it leads to addiction. Without proper help, it is possible that this addiction carries on into adulthood. This is where the problem becomes even more serious. That is the reason why we must work together as a community to ensure that teenagers can't have access to alcoholic products. It isn't about punishing them, but rather helping them to stay out of it. As parents and families, we must educate our children about the risk of underage drinking and provide them support when needed. We must also set up some rules. For instance, there can't be alcohol served in parties with underage teenagers. Anyone who is in school premises, whether adults or not, can't bring in alcohol for any purposes. At home, parents mustn't allow their teenage children to engage in drinking alcohol. It is important that we mustn't break any rules that we set.
That's all interesting and useful information, Professor Bopar. Now it's time for a short commercial break. After our commercial break, Professor Bopar will take questions from our listeners, so please call in and engage with us.
Unit 25, Part B, Activity 2B. Listen again. Fill in the gaps with the words you hear. Unit 27, Part A, Activity 2. Work in pairs. How does Jenny feel? Why do you think she feels that way? Then listen and check. Did you guess right?
Hi, Mom. I have some good news and some bad news. Which would you like to hear first?
Let's go with the bad news first, Jenny. What's up? Do you need more money?
No, Mom. I'm going away.
You going away? What do you mean?
I'm moving abroad to England.
What? When did you decide to? How?
Mom, relax. I've been offered a scholarship.
Wow, that's really good news. I'm so proud of you, Jenny. I'll call you back in a minute. I can't wait to tell your dad.
Mom, wait!
Unit 27, Part A, Activity 3. Listen and answer the questions.
Johnny, I'm so happy for you. Come home soon. We must celebrate.
Yes, Dad. I'm visiting in 2 weeks. I have to wait for further instructions from the scholarship organization and the embassy.
So, when do you leave?
Well, Mom, I don't have to leave until early next year, so I still have plenty of time to do what I need to.
And what do you need to do exactly?
Well, first I have to apply and be accepted at one of the universities in England. They need to know which university I will be studying at, so I must do this soon. I need to apply to at least 2 universities.
Great. Knowing you, you've already thought about this, right?
Of course, Dad. And I also have to get a new passport. My old one's expired. Then, when I've done that, I have to apply for a student visa. I might also need to complete forms for the immigration office, but I'll worry about that later. Ugh, I don't really like going there.
Do you need to shop for new clothes? I'll go shopping with you.
Thanks, Mom, but I don't need to do that now. Oh, I guess we can do some shopping. There's a ceremony at the embassy next week to welcome the new scholars. Me and the other scholars have to be there. Parents are invited too, but they don't really have to go. Would you come? Mom? Dad?
Of course.
Sure. Now, Lekana, let's go shopping now. Talk to you soon, Johnny.
Bye, Dad. Bye, Mom.
Unit 28, Part A, Activity 2A. Listen to Janny asking Richard and Tim about life in London. Answer the questions.
Hi, Tim. Hi, Richard. Thanks for inviting me over to talk. I'm a bit nervous about going to study in London, so it would be great to ask you some questions.
Oh, you're welcome, Jenny. We're very excited for you. Please ask us anything you like.
Oh, yes. It's nice to talk about England with you, Jenny. What would you like to know?
Well, I want to know about the things that will be different. I've only lived in Siem Reap, so I don't know what to expect.
Yes, London is certainly different to Siem Reap. It's much busier and more crowded for a start. There are over 10 million people in and around London, and you can spend a long time travelling from one place to another.
Oh, wow, that sounds really big.
It is, and it's much more diverse than Siem Reap. There are foreigners from all over the world living in London. Only about half were born in Britain. People have moved to the UK from all over the world.
Oh, that sounds interesting. I'd like to meet lots of different people.
There is something about London that isn't great, though. It isn't as cheap as living in Siem Reap. It's a lot more expensive. Things like a room to live in, transport, and eating out cost much more than here.
Yes, I've heard that before. Is everything very expensive?
No, some things are cheaper. Buying things for your house, good quality clothes, and food in supermarkets are all a little cheaper than Cambodia.
What's the weather like? What kinds of clothes will I need?
It's much colder than here, especially in winter, and it's windier too. You'll need thicker clothes like sweaters, a coat, and a hat in winter. In summer, it can be quite warm, but not always.
Yes, the weather is very different in winter than in summer. Over the year, the climate is much cooler than in Cambodia, and it isn't as sunny. Oh, and it rains a lot.
Okay, thanks for that. It sounds like everything is very different.
Not everything. Some things are similar. People like to do some of the same things in their free time. They like to go out and meet their friends and hang out together.
Okay, thanks very much. I'm sure I'll have more questions. Can I talk to you again?
Of course you can, Janny. Anytime.
Unit 28, Part A, Activity 2B. Listen again and complete the sentences with the words from the box. Unit 28, Part B, Activity 4B. Listen to Jani talking to Kusal and Tim and check your answers.
Oh, hi, Jenny. Nice to hear from you. Tim's here with me so we can all talk.
Hey, Jenny. How are things going over there in London? Are you enjoying it?
Hi, nice to talk to you both. Yes, it's all good. It was a bit strange at first, and I had some culture shock, but I'm getting used to life here now and enjoying it.
Oh, that's good to hear. What is it like studying in England?
Oh, fine. Now that I'm used to things, I took a day off last week and found out that you have to attend class every day. You can't stay at home without a good reason. They are stricter here than in Cambodia about that.
Yeah, that's true, but it's a good thing. It's better not to miss class.
True. I'm fine with it. I just didn't know. Also, I wanted to get a part time job to practice English and earn some money. But in England, you mustn't work on a student visa. However, you can work at the university and they have some part time jobs. So I'm gonna find out about that.
That sounds like a good idea. What about the food? Is it very different to the food here?
It is different, and I don't like everything, but some of it's really nice. You don't need to eat British food all the time. There's food from all over the world in London, so there are many new things to try. Tim, should I leave a tip when I eat out in England?
Well, you don't have to leave a tip, especially at lunchtime, but it's polite, and many people do it. It's up to you, really. If you eat in the evening, it's more common.
Oh, yes, and I have another question. I'm going to an English person's house for dinner next week. Can you give me any advice about what to do?
Well, when you meet people in England, you should arrive on time. A few minutes is okay, but it's rude to be more than about 15 minutes late. Oh, and if someone cooks for you, you must say something nice about the food. Say that it's really good, even if you don't like it.
What about riding a bicycle in London? How are you finding that? The roads are much bigger and busier than here, aren't they?
Yes, and here they drive on the left, of course, and you need to follow the traffic rules carefully. People get angry, and it's easy to have an accident if you don't. And you should wear a helmet to cycle. It isn't a law, but it's much safer because the traffic is faster here.
It sounds like you're settling in very well in England, Jenny. I think you're adapting to life in England very quickly. Have you been feeling homesick?
No, not really. I feel a little disorientated sometimes when I don't know how to do things. And of course, I miss my country and my family and friends. But it's exciting to be in a new country, and I'll be back in Cambodia next year.
That's great, Jenny.
Listen, sorry, Jenny, but we have to go out now. We are playing football this afternoon. Call again soon.
I will. Tell mom and dad I'll call them soon. Bye.
Bye,
Bye,
Jenny.
Jenny.